Shalom. My name is Tinho Liao, and I'm the Vice Mayor of City of San Gabriel. And I'm so happy to be here because my Chinese name, Tinho, means peacemaker. So I'm born with passion for world peace. But it's my great honor to introduce this very important person. And I'm talking about Master Jing Ho Liu. Master Liu has been devoted to promoting traditional Chinese culture and Buddhism in Australia and other places over the world ever since 1997. With the radio station he founded, he has been using his radio programs to spread the message of kindness, compassion, and world peace. With his speaking and writing, Master Liu uses simple language to explain the profound meaning of Buddhist philosophy. Master Liu also dedicated himself to community service and charity work. Master Liu was awarded 3 times as the title of Ambassador for World Peace. First one was at the United Nations, and then U.S. Congress, and at the Unity of Faith Foundation in London. He also received British Community Honors Award in the House of Lords. And also in Berlin, Germany, he was given an award for peace advocacy by the Institute of Cultural Diplomacy all over Europe. In Paris, Master Liu, for his work on the culture of peace, also he became received a certificate of achievement at UNESCO headquarters. And last year, Master Liu became the honorary visiting professor at the University of Siena in Italy, and under his master program in global governance and cultural diplomacy. So he is indeed all over the world. And last February, actually this year, in February, he received an appreciation for his outstanding contribution in promoting Buddhism. He was given a Malaysian lifelong honorary title as called Dao. So that's the most powerful title ever in Malaysia. So, let's have a short video for Mr. Master Liu. Short video.
importance of the morality.
Very impressive indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Honorable Master Jing Hong Liu.
Thank you, Mayor Liu. Thank you, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank IPCGE and the Foundation Culture of the Peace for presenting me with such a great honor. I feel very privileged. This award will certainly inspire me to work hard and do everything in my power to promote intercultural understanding and world peace. I hope that through the work of the many peace-loving people around the world and my humble efforts, more people can better understand the concepts of the Buddhism and welcome them with open arms so that we can get closer to the dream of the more peaceful world. For years, I have been devoted to the promoting Buddhism and its key idea of peace around the world, the Buddhist practice. I founded Guan Dharma Go has over 10 million followers around the world today. More than 100 associations and charity organizations in more than 30 countries have also been established. Deep down, I know very clear that these achievements could not have been possible without the wisdom and the profound needs of Buddhism. It's the ideal of the compassion that brings us together. It's also the ideal of the compassion that inspires many more people to fight for the global cause of peace and charity. In the meantime, I'm also promoting the ideals of how religion education can bring peace in many countries. I believe that only when we have true peace in the world can each one of us be embraced by love. I'm grateful that I have the chance to be part of this great endeavor to promote world peace. This is my lifelong aspiration. I will work to the best of my ability to spread Buddhism, help more people, and promote the world peace. I believe that based upon the religious ideals of the peace together, we can make world peace a reality. In the near future, this world will become the land of the peace where each one of us is a messenger of peace. I'm also looking forward to working with the distinguished guests in the audience to make this dream into the reality. I know that California has been in the middle of the drought. I hope my visit will help bring some relief. Once again, I deeply thank all the distinguished guests in the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you.
have our panel discussion with Master Liu. So, Master Liu, why don't you begin if you have some further thoughts for us on religion and the culture of peace. And then each can speak for a few minutes, and then perhaps we can have some interaction with the audience and some questions. Please.
Thank you, Richard. I think that religion and the culture are two fundamental elements for the peace. The following are my thoughts on the religion, culture, and the peace. Religion is an important part of the culture. A great number of the conflicts are caused by religious and differences. Culture and religion impact how a nation and its people think. And the people's thoughts can make or break world peace. So conflicts are often maintained by a misunderstanding different religious schools. Culture as a communication tool can enhance the communication and the understanding of the different nations. Understanding and respecting other cultures can help religions move towards more non-confrontational and civilized dialogues which bring about more harmony in the world. So I think religion and civilization and peace are built on the mutual respect religion bonds, the politics of every nation. Therefore, the important communication between different faiths and different cultures can bring about harmony and empathy. Only when the political conflicts give way to cultural understanding, when religious teachings delivers more the scope, can harmony amongst the different nations be achieved. So only when the understanding has bridged all the perspectives, only then can the world grow in a peaceful and harmonious way. Thank you.
Those insights. And next, Rabbi Ben Abrahamson, who is the director and founder of the Al-Sadiqim organization. He researches the common shared historical roots of Judaism and Islam for use by religious courts. He is active in using this material for religious diplomacy. So, Rabbi Abrahamson, please tell us a bit more about your work and how this relates to religion and the culture of peace.
Well, also I would add that when we talk about religious diplomacy, it doesn't mean sending in a bunch of diplomats to settle the quarrels between religious people. It actually means having religious people involved in the diplomatic process and being involved and understanding the people that they're working with in a way that nobody else can. Also, I've written a book, Divine Diversity, which you can see a little bit more of what I talk about there. I prepared a big speech with lots of numbers and facts, because that's what I do. I do scholarly work and historical manuscripts and things like that. But for some reason I wasn't able to bring it. So actually I wanted to share something that was very meaningful to me as I was walking through the Museum of Tolerance here. Especially when I was going through the Holocaust side of things. I mean, I had had Holocaust education when I was growing up, and I'd seen these pictures before, and I knew what to expect. But this time it was a little different. When I was a teenager seeing those things, I felt a certain way. And then in the year 2001, I was involved in a terrorist attack. I was in a bus bombing that blew up, and a large number of people were killed. I wasn't. I was scratched up and things like that. And people were spread all out on the street in front of me, and the people who perpetrated it even as they were running to get ambulances and people to help, they were firing in on it to make more people killed. And there's really no words to describe the feeling. I mean, you see things here, pictures, black and white, of people, mounds of people who have died. But to sit in a bus which has just blown up, and your friends were sitting there, and everything's gone to pieces, you just think all of humanity has fallen apart. That it's become a jungle, that it's a world of animals. And it took me time to recover from that and get back to my own roots, my own religious roots of the way Judaism looks at other people and looks at what we call here the culture of peace. And basically, in terms of religious terms, we say in the Psalms, that there's three groups of people. We say the children of Aaron. There's a psalm that says the children of Aaron praise the Lord because He's our help and our salvation. The children of Israel praise the Lord because He's our help and our salvation. And the God-fearers should praise the Lord because He's help and our salvation. And who are these God-fearers? Who are these people that fear God, which have a connection, which are a third circle? I met with Rav Adin Steinsaltz, and he explained that there's really three groups of people going on amongst the Jewish people. You have the priests, the Kohanim, the Levites that are in the middle. You have the Jewish people around them, and then around them you have a third circle of God-fearers. When Herod expanded the Temple Mount during the time of the Second Temple, there's a gate called the Soreg, which if it didn't belong to the Jewish people, you couldn't go past it. He didn't expand that. What he expanded was the side outside of it, the Court of Nations, as it's called. And what would happen is during the Festival of Tabernacles, people from all over the nations, these weren't Jews, these were God-fearers, would come. And they would worship at the Temple Mount. And they needed a tremendous amount of room. And what would they do? On the mount, they would circle 7 times counterclockwise around the altar, around the temple itself. These God-fearers in Hebrew are called Yirei Shamayim. In Greek, it's called Theosebeo or Sabai. In Aramaic, every time they talk about the children of Jethro, who are often called the Canaan, the first God-fearers, the word Salamai is used, or Muslamai. So here we are talking about God-fearers 600 years before the rise of Islam. You're talking about Muslimai, Muslims in the Jewish tradition. So that puts us in a special relationship with other monotheistic religions. The Jewish people say there's really only 7 commandments, what we call the Sheva Mitzvos B'nai Noach, the 7 commandments of Noah, which are required for a person to gain salvation. We don't require that the whole world has to keep Shabbat or the whole world has to keep kosher. But they do, if they do keep these 7 things, which are basically 7 of the 10 commandments, and they do it for the sake of heaven, they're guaranteed a portion of the world to come. And we can respect these people. We can even go beyond that. We can encourage them. And we can support them in their work, knowing that God has a purpose for these people as well. And this is from a completely orthodox Torah viewpoint. This is not being overly pluralistic. It's not watering down religion. This is Jewish teaching. That there is such a thing as a B'nai Noach, a God-fearer, even today. And when you explore this, you can find so many different examples. One of the things we talked about earlier today was the importance of media. Listed up here as one of the fast tracks for getting a culture of peace. Media has a tremendous power to shape a narrative, or at least provide the raw material that a narrative was created through social media. But I would challenge people to think out of the box. The narrative may not always be what you think. As a historian who studied the common shared roots of Islam and Judaism, things are not always what we take for granted. For instance, how many times do Jews pray? a day. Most people would say 3 times a day. The truth is, we pray 5 times a day. There was a different disagreement whether you should say the Shema prayer, the prayer of oneness, whether you should say that when you first wake up or when everybody wakes up. So they did it then and then. And when you do, when people start to go to sleep or when you go to sleep. So they did it that time and that time. So it turns out 5 times. And this indeed was what was going on in Medina and Mecca. The Jews were praying 5 times a day just as they do today. The calendar is something else. The Islamic calendar has 4 holy months where no fighting is permitted, or theoretically no fighting is permitted. These holy months, if you calculate them mathematically, you can see that they correspond exactly to the 3 pilgrimages of Jerusalem, of Passover, of Pentecost, of Tabernacles, when war was not allowed in Israel because people had to have free access to get to Jerusalem. These are the same holy months that even today are known in Islam. Islam has a 4th holy month. What happened when the Jewish temple was destroyed, the Romans forbid anybody, from any Jews or God-fearers, from coming to the temple and celebrating the Jewish holidays. So the Romans, in their imperial fashion, wanted to show they were in charge, and they said, well, there is one day you can come. You can come on the 9th of Av. That's the day when the temple was destroyed. You can come and you can cry. You can come to the Mount of Olives and you can cry. It's very interesting. If you look at the Islamic calendar, Rosh Hashanah corresponds to Rosh Hashanah. The beginning of the year corresponds to the beginning of the year. Ashura, the 10th, corresponds to Yom Kippur. If you count 6 months later, Leila Abarat corresponds to Passover. If you count Ramadan, corresponds to Sfirat Omer. And then Eid al-Fitr corresponds to Shavuot, to Pentecost. And if you count, what corresponds to the 9th of Av? The pilgrimage that was created after the Roman destruction of the temple corresponds 1 for 1 for the Yom Arafat, the Hajj. The day when millions and millions of Muslims are going to Mecca has a connection. I'm not saying that one causes or another, these are all shared Abrahamic roots, but it has a connection, something that we can share and something we can look at each other and say, hey, I recognize that. That's one thing. Also, when Onias, if you remember the story of the Maccabees, when the Maccabees went and cleaned the temple from all the Greek influence. Well, the Greek high priests, originally they were very good. They were the Sadducite priests that King David had installed, and they were doing a very good job, but they had become Hellenized. And they started to sell the priesthood for money and do all sorts of things which are not proper. But there was one priest, Onias, who was the last of them, who was a little bit nervous about what was going on, and he ran away to Egypt, to Ptolemy, to make a temple in Egypt, in Tel Yelida. And even today, the remnants of the temple still exist. It was a great built on a sand dune with a wall around it. And that temple the altar was exactly the same size as the altar in Jerusalem. Except the Heichal, the sanctuary, the tall building next to the altar, didn't have a 7-branch menorah in it. Josephus explains that he was afraid that in Egypt, one point here, he was not making this for Jews, he was making this for God-fearers. Tosfos says the reason why he made this temple in Egypt was for God-fearers, to come and make oaths and do sacrifices. And he didn't want to put a 7-branch menorah there because he was afraid in Egypt they might think something is polytheistic. So he put one light on top of a tall building. And you can see in the stele of Aksum and in various places in Egypt and in Ethiopia, these tall stone monuments which represent this temple of Onias, this tall shrine. And it what do you call it? And it had stone doors and windows and everything inside of it. And on top of it was a light, and it was called a minarah, a minarah. And we can see that this minara was done for 400 years. There was a Jewish kingdom in Arabia called Himyar, and they made these minaras. And this, again, is something we can see and we say, hey, I recognize that. When a Jewish person passes by a mosque and he sees a light up there, he says, hey, I know what that is. And this is a common shared piece of history that it's a narrative that we need to focus on and to support each other with. And it's something that the media plays a very important role. And I'll follow the instructions here. And I would only say that I was very touched from everything I've seen here today. And I hope that this will truly be an initiative towards stepping and building a culture of peace and everything that needs to be done for that.
Thank you. As witnessed by our organizers' concern about the schedule, we're running a bit late. But we really do want to hear from Dr. Mustafa in a few minutes as to how he believes the culture of peace can come through mutual respect and understanding on individual and state levels. If you could outline a bit for us what that means. We particularly appreciate your being here as a doctor of Muslim background, as you say, who really yearns for peace with us Christians and Jews, Buddhists and others. Thank you, and looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you very much, Richard. Today visiting this museum is a very big experience for me. And I come from Egypt, which have a very deep experience for many Jews for thousands of years, because that's where they were pushed out of Egypt, as we know, or as history tells us, and as well they've been treated very badly. I come from Cairo, which probably is the epicenter of the Arab world, but there's another epicenter of violence, Syria today. That's why I think peace is very needed in the Middle East. I reflected today when I was visiting this museum, because when I was about 13, I think someone from the Ministry of Information in Egypt gave me a book about Aikman. I forgot his first name. Aikman. And actually, he was put as some form of a hero. I'm ashamed to say that, but I was only 13. I remember the picture today when I just... It was shocking that that's why education is very important for people to learn reason, and reason will bring peace, and reason will bring democracy. I think the Middle East suffered a lot and they need to evolve. I got a picture today from the gas chamber, which is the first time to see how it looks like. It's extremely shocking. We don't want to see this again, and we want peace in the Middle East and the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Last, but by no means least, Pastor Joanna Adebayo. We look forward to hearing from you on how our Christian faith leads to a culture of peace. Please.
Good evening, gentlemen. Esteemed guests. For me, here tonight, I think when we speak about peace, we are all here so that we can put our minds together and our hearts so that we can learn from history what it has come from.
你帮我开一个电话，等一下，就是按这个就好，我帮他按。 Yeah.